One of the biggest learning is paperwork. We don't have a lot of documentation. You fit a new roof, it's done. You might have to notify building control. But when you start getting into the electrical and solar side, we're probably doing 1 or 2 jobs a week at the minute. By the time we get to 3 or 4 jobs a week, it will need someone full-time just for paper admin. And that was a lot for me.
What do you think is your key difference?
We get stuff done.
Tell us about some horror stories that you've seen.
We've fell through roofs.
Wow.
My cousin fell from 1 story, just slipped off a ladder, done his ankle, he was off work for nearly 2 weeks. I know another bloke who fell, landed between skip and a pallet. One died a couple of months back. It's a really dangerous industry. People forget that when they're paying for this service. There is an element of danger money in there as well. Like I said, we do it every day, we're used to it, but it is a dangerous industry.
Got our ears wide open, we're ready to explore. Let's dive right in. Today's guests, we've got Paul Bone, Kingsley Roofing and Solar Services. How are you, Paul?
Not bad, thank you very much. Thank you for having me on, Adam.
It's a real pleasure. Now, you're such an interesting guy. I've known you for a little while now, so I thought I've got to get Paul on the show. Can you tell me a little bit of background about yourself, Paul, and how you got into becoming the sexiest roofer?
The sexiest roofer, yeah, well, that's another story. But yeah, I mean, it started off about 10 years ago. I was a roofer before that. My old man taught me. He's sure fix roofing. He trained me up. Then was it 2007 recession that kicked in?
Yeah, 2007, 2008,
and there was no work. So I just had a kid as well. So I went to work on the bins. Wow. Stayed on there 2 years. Finally got fully employed and then got sacked. Went out on the sesh on the Friday night and we had work on Saturday morning. So he sacked 12 of us on the same morning.
Wow.
Yeah. So that would do, especially having a new kid. So I went straight into a warehouse, but hated it.
Yeah.
Brought a roof rack for my car because I couldn't afford a van. And with roofing, obviously you have to have a van.
Yeah.
So I brought a roof rack for my car and started a window cleaning round.
Nice.
Then went into a partnership in roofing. We had a maintenance company, sort of grew different things gradually, but then went into a partnership with someone in roofing. That went belly up. And then, Kingsley Roofing was started. And about a year, 2 years ago, we developed the solar arm onto it. So, that's where we've ended up. Where we are today.
Super interesting. I mean, like there you're saying, you even did the bins at a time, you did a bit of maintenance.
Some of the hardest working lads were on the bins. I tell you, still are. It was a difficult job, but there were some real grafters on there, some good lads. But we always took out drinking, and that was the problem. That's why we got sacked.
And he got rid of 12
people all on the same Saturday morning.
Wow.
Thought we were invincible. We thought he can't sack us all. And all sacked.
Talk about cutting off your nose to spite your face, right? I bet he needed you guys in a Monday morning. So cool. So you mentioned there you've got the solar services as well. That's becoming super big now. We're hearing about sustainable energy. You've got Elon Musk banging that kind of drum with Tesla. How does roofing and solar services go hand in hand? And what's the benefits of integrating the two together?
So, I mean, there's been solar around for years. Obviously, there was a big boom about 6 or 7 years ago. And it's very much an electrical job, obviously, to converting the power into energy. But you're having these electricians on roofs. They were destroying roofs, damaging them, and they were also putting solar on roofs that the roofs were knackered. Yeah. So you then get a leak. You've got to take all the solar panels off. And we were doing a job for a client, and we'd done the roof. Solar people went in, and then the roof was leaking. They'd smashed the roof to pieces. Luckily, I had pictures before and after. There was a big contractual argument. And I spoke to my client. I said, don't you want all this in one place? And they were like, if it's on the roof, it should be the roofers. If it's on the electric, it should be the electric. So that's where the it's an overlapping industry now. And we're finding a lot more roofers are now picking up, especially with the integrated solar panels that form part of the roof covering. Yeah. And it's working really well on that front.
So you did a brand new roof for a customer.
Yeah.
How much did that cost?
The whole contract, I think it's about 15, 20 grand contract.
So they spend 15 to 20 grand.
Yeah.
The Sparkies have gone on the roof and destroyed it.
Yeah.
What was the conversation like with the client?
Well, the roof obviously started leaking, and it's like, why's your roof leaking? Well, it weren't leaking when we left. Yeah. And so we go up to investigate. And I mean, they were all right, but obviously it comes in, the solar PV people are saying, it weren't us. So there's that argument trying to prove who's who. But we just had before picture and said, look, it's all damaged here. Because you walk on the roof, their tiles aren't solid. They just smashed a piece, ripped through the felt. And also they're hidden by the solar panels then. So you wouldn't know just by looking. Yeah. So the client was all right. Once we proved it weren't us, I mean, the initial conversation was your effing roof's leaking, you absolute idiots.
Oh, wow.
It's always the way. If you get a roof leak, it's always the roofer's fault. Do you know what I mean? It's no one else's fault.
And was it at that point there where you're thinking, there's a potential for a business development idea here? Maybe we could go into... What was your thought at that time? Were you thinking,
Yeah, so it was probably about 2 or 3 months after when I said to the client, I said, do you want all this in one place? And contracts manager in Kingsley Roofing, Dale Dexter, he used to be a level 2 electrician. So me and him got chatting and we just sort of said, should we do this together? So we opened Kingsley Solar Services together. We trade as Kingsley Roofing and Solar, but they're 2 separate businesses. So he's got that electrical knowledge as well. We do sub out a lot of the electrical work, but at least he's got that underlying knowledge of it, which I haven't got. I've got the roofing knowledge. But at the end of the day, if it's on a roof, like I say, we've still got to keep it watertight, and that's where it really works. And it was a no-brainer from then. It took a long time to get there because there was a lot of learning, hell of a lot of learning from us. But yeah, we're there now, and yeah, we're doing really well.
I think, like, constant learning is, it's going to give you development and growth, isn't it? I mean, talk to me about some of that learning that you did from, just having a roofing firm to getting into solar. What was the biggest learn for you?
Oh, there's loads of it, really. One of the biggest learning is paperwork. The roofing industry, it's not... Regulated's the wrong word. We don't have a lot of documentation. You fit a new roof, it's done. You might have to notify building control. But when you start getting into the electrical and solar side, I mean, if we're probably doing 1 or 2 jobs a week at the minute. By the time we get to 3 or 4 jobs a week, it will need someone full-time just for paper admin. For the health and safety side, which is needed on, you're dealing with a lot of power at the end of the day. You could cause house fires. And that was a lot for me because I'm not a paperwork-driven guy. I like to be out networking. I like to be doing stuff like this, not sitting there doing paperwork.
Drumming up business.
So it's knuckling down and getting that done. And learning we're designing stuff now, which before that was all done for us. When we get a roofing tender, it's all, this is what we want you to do. Whereas now on the solar side, we had to provide the design to the client. We had to come up with the best ideas. And that's been big learning curves. But Dale, again, he's been absolutely great. He loves all that technical side of it. Whereas I'm the more like to get out there and sell it.
Drum up the business.
That's what I enjoy doing.
The sexiest roofer.
Sexiest roofer in Northampton, Many people would beg to differ from that. But I don't even know how it started. I can't remember how it started, to be honest.
Right, so it's clearly true. It's clearly true. So, I mean, what sets Kingsley Roofing and Solar Services apart from other roofing companies, other solar providers? I mean, what do you think is your key difference?
So I've thought about this a lot over the years, and for me, it's only one thing: we get stuff done. There's no, you can promise to do this. We got the best guarantees, we've got the best roofers. We make mistakes. Everybody does it. Whatever roofer out there said they've never had a leak on a roof is lying, because it happens. Mistakes happen, especially when people are involved. Mistakes happen, but we rectify it. And also on the flip side, if something goes slightly wrong on a job for a client, not necessarily our fault, we'll help them put it right. We'll get it, and we just get shit done, really. And I think that's what the difference is from us and some others. People are charging variations all the time, which we have to in certain circumstances. But if we can help a client, whether that's domestic or commercial, we'll do that little bit of an extra favour and just go that extra mile to help them. Puts us out sometimes, but it's repeat business.
This is it, isn't it? I think what's super important to clients as well is actually when they engage with someone, knowing that when they say they're going to turn up, they're going to turn up. And do what they say they're going to do, and that's really important, isn't it? And even in my business, that's important to clients, and that's how you differentiate yourself. I mean, what are some of the most common challenges that homeowners are facing when it comes to roofing and solar installations? I mean, because I keep seeing everywhere I'm going, I'm seeing solar panels on roofs, and there's a few jobs near me, and I think, who've done that? One of the, and you think, I'm not sure about that, and it's kind of, you start thinking, you really could get anyone, right?
Yeah, you can, and there's a common, in our industry, people like to say, "Oh, you brought the cheapest, you're going to pay twice." That's not the case. We're obviously very heavily commercial based now. We was very domestic based. And now we're very heavily commercial. And the reason we was domestic is because we showed up when we said we was going to. We never missed appointments, and we used to win work just because other roofers weren't showing up. But now we are that little bit dearer. We've got different insurances for the commercial work. We've got nearly 12 lads out, so our insurances just get higher and higher. Whereas a one-man band, he can be 20% cheaper than us. And I've got some really great guys that I know that are one-man bands, and they're going to do just as good a job as us. So it's not always the cheaper. The cheaper it is, the worse job they're going to do. It is just sounding out, checking their insurances, and just getting along with that. Make sure you get along with that person, because if you don't, you're never going to see eye to eye. I'd always avoid the very cheapest quote. Always get free quotes from a domestic point of view. And just make sure they're all tallying up naturally, because you can look at a roof and go, "Oh yeah, they've allowed for lead flashings. That might be £1,000 on a roof." Someone else might have allowed for a lead substitute, which is £200. That's going to fail in 5 years. So you've got to do your due diligence, check reviews, stuff like that. Best way is word of mouth. As you know, we do a lot of networking. And them word of mouth referrals are the best. So
with your referrals as well, where would be, I'm a client, I'm looking to do a new roof. Where would I go and check you out?
You can see us on Facebook reviews, Google reviews, all sorts of places like that. Check a Trade. Check a Trade is actually quite a good one. A lot of roofers slander it. But it's got a good review system on there, and it works. So I think.
Do you think they slander it maybe because they're not doing so well on the reviews? Or?
No, it's very difficult, because you've got if you don't have your reviews on there maybe once a month, you start dropping down the rankings, and it's very hard to keep on top of it. So for us, we've got obviously Robin in the office. She can chase people up to leave reviews, but I can imagine a one-man band. He's constantly got to chase reviews, because every 100 jobs we do, we might only get 5 or 10 reviews. So it's so that's why they slander it, because they drop off, then they don't get as many inquiries. I think we've got something like 100 odd reviews on there now.
Well, this is it, isn't it? We were talking off camera earlier about living in this digital world of social media and things like that. It's super important, isn't it, to have that online profile, because now where are people going when they're looking for anything, whether that's ordering a pizza to getting a roof,
everything's on their phone now, isn't it? Straight away they've got the information.
So it's good to see that you've got that kind of branding in place as well. Something I did want to touch on, new builds. I mean, they get slated, don't they? Look, I'll be honest, I live in a new build. It's that's all I'm going to say.
It weren't me.
But I mean, you've worked on a lot of new build developments. Without mentioning any names, tell us about some horror stories that you've seen.
So I mean, new build wise, what our market tends to be is the one-off bespoke builds, high end, where money's not so much of an issue, but we have got some smaller 30, 40 house sites. And it is just rush, crack it out. And the margins are so low. It's become a problem within the industry, because margins are so low, people have got to rush through it. The lads are getting absolutely rubbish money on rates. So unless you've got these procedures in place to check the work's being kept to a standard, you're always fighting an uphill battle. And if something's slightly wrong on site, the rafters are out, the fascias aren't on, people are moaning at each other instead of working together. I've got some clients, we all band together. If something goes wrong, we all band together, we all work together. But there's very much a blame game in construction. Everyone's trying to pass the buck around. As soon as you eliminate that, I think the quality will get better.
This is it. Do you think it's kind of, because it's mainly subcontractors and they're there for a short amount of time, they're like, I want to come back, so I'm going to pass it off to this trade?
That's exactly what it is.
It wasn't me.
Job. It's not my job mentality. And maybe they've missed it out on their quote, maybe it weren't on the original drawings, but instead of working together, it's the blame game constantly. And it's very difficult on the roof, because we tend to be the last one in before the scaffold comes down. So then the scaffold comes down, then the problems are picked out, and they can be quite expensive to put back up. So if we're in a JCT contract and it's deemed to be our fault, we're putting the scaffolds back up. And that blame game's already started, and they're not nice situations to be in. But like I say, I've got some great clients that I work really closely with, and if there's a problem, we work together. And that gets the best solution for everyone, including the client. The only person that loses when everyone starts arguing really is the client.
Absolutely. So have you ever seen anything funny on site where you thought, that's a bit strange? Or?
As in what?
Anything where you've just thought that.
I've seen some mental lads on site doing some crazy stuff, but a lot on the bigger sites, a lot of that's had to stop now, health and safety. Well, which I'll get to an extent. We all moan about health and safety. But some of the stuff the lads used to do on site used to be carnage. I mean, we've fell through roofs. My cousin, it was my cousin Daniel, who we used to work with a few years back. Well, he works with us now, actually. He was walking up a tiled roof, and he's quite a big lad, and his body just went through the whole thing, and his head was just sticking out above the tiles. And it's like, and then I did have another lad. He was walking up the roof. It was felt and battened. There was no felt and battened. He fell through, and his head went through the client's ceiling, and the client was in the bath. So he's just in this bath, and his head's popped through, and it's like, "You're right, mate," and it's like, "Oh God!" But
the client's having
the
a bath
in the bath,
and one of your guys' head comes through the plasterboard, and he's watching the client have a bath.
He's fell through the rafters, and then so he's upside down, and his head's gone through the ceiling rafters, and just his shoulders got stuck. He hurt himself, but he's all right now, and his head just pinged through. And it was like, oh my God, how do you explain that?
Yes.
But that was on a domestic property. That was a good 5-6 years back, actually.
Wow.
He don't work me anymore, funny enough.
I wonder why he's not started his own firm. Have you ever fallen off a roof?
I haven't, no. I haven't fallen. I've got a lad for me, works for me. He went straight out a ladder access. They'd tied the gate open, which you should never do. Someone had tied the gate open and he went straight out the ladder access. He was off work for about 8 or 9 weeks.
Wow.
My cousin fell from 1 story, just slipped off a ladder, done his ankle. He was off work for nearly 2 weeks. It's a really dangerous industry. We forget.
Yeah.
We forget how dangerous it is, doing it every day, day in, day out. And from the background I've come from, heavily domestic, it's a lot more unregulated on the domestic side, but I wouldn't send any lads up to a job now without scaffolding. But on the commercial side, it's obviously a lot more heavily regulated. So health and safety's got a lot better. Sometimes it can be over the top. I know another bloke who fell, landed between skip and a pallet. One died a couple of months back, actually.
Wow.
Forget how much of a dangerous industry it is. A bloke I used to work for, he slipped through a roof light on an industrial unit, knackered all his back up. And that's in the past 2 years, them two people. Serious injuries, it's really... And people forget that when they're paying for this service. There is an element of danger money in there as well. Like I said, we do it every day, we're used to it. But it is a dangerous industry.
This is it, isn't it? You know, it's just, it's easy to slip, fall back, you know.
You can have all the health and safety in place, but all it takes is one slip, one lapse concentration, and that's it. It can be...
Absolutely.
Game over.
Wow, absolutely. Hey guys, I just want to take 30 seconds out of our video today to talk to you about today's sponsor. Our sponsor is QB Rooms. They've produced this video for us today. So if you're in need of a podcast, content creation, or music videos, or in fact videos for anything, you need to get in touch with QB Rooms. The link is down below now. If you click on the link, it will take you to QB Rooms website. I mean, I've heard you speak before about financial incentives available to homeowners and things for taking solar. I mean, talk to us briefly about some of those. I mean, I know there was more at the start when it all kind of rolled out.
There's a lot less now. I think mainly because the fact that how high energy bills are now. Obviously, if you got solar, the return on investment for solar is about 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
Before it was about 10 to 15 years. The install cost about 15 grand. Whereas now the average sort of install is in between 5 and 7 grand with a 3 to 4 year return on investment.
Okay.
So I think that's why we're seeing the incentives go. But there's a lot more incentive now for the commercial market. We've got investors as well, because it's not just about your energy bills in commercial. There's people stopping you going on their tender lists. There's obviously the new regulations to hit. So there's a lot more on the commercial side incentive, especially from the government. At the minute, I'm not too up to date on them all. But I know there's a lot more involved in it.
Wow. And this is... it's becoming more commonplace, isn't it? I mentioned earlier, I'm seeing it more on people's roofs. It just seems, people talking about it. What's your thoughts on the Tesla solar roof?
So I've been looking at it for a long time. We were potentially going to be the first ones to install it in the UK.
Wow, okay.
This job came up about 4 years ago. And it was a Tesla solar slate. It looks absolutely stunning. It looks like a natural slate. It's a brilliant product. It is. I think it's only in California still at the minute. It's still going, and it keeps being delayed. So it hasn't come to the UK yet. This job never ended up obviously being done with it because it was meant to be released 4 years ago. once the price comes down, it's not going to be affordable for your average person.
Yeah.
But once that, I can imagine that is how all roofing will go.
Yeah.
That's how all roofing will be eventually, and that's what I think we're heading to.
And is it still like, you know, when you're working with the materials, is it still the same kind of installation methods, or is it?
So with the Tesla slate, it's very similar. Yeah, it's very similar. So that it will be very much a roofer's job. I don't think you'll have solar PV guy people doing it. Even with the on-roof systems we got now, which are basically just big solar panels, but they're in the roof. They're fitted like a Velux window. So roofers know how to do these, and that's why it's becoming more and more commonplace that roofers are getting involved in it. But they just don't like the paperwork side of it.
It makes sense though, doesn't it? If something's got to go on the roof, who's going to do it? You know, like the roofer would. Yeah. You wouldn't get a mechanic on there.
No.
But it's super interesting. I mean, I'm a big fan of Elon Musk. I think he's brilliant.
Yeah.
Strange guy. I love that.
Yeah. 100%.
But his brain's always ticking over, isn't it? So
it works a completely different way to everyone else's, isn't it? In a good way.
This is it. I mean, have you got any advice for anyone listening here if they're thinking about getting solar on their roof or just needing in a new roof? What should they look for when they're trying to find a reputable contractor?
So when it comes to finding someone reputable, like I say, if they've got a good online presence, if they've been recommended by friends or family that have had work done, that's obviously your perfect step. Or depending on value of job, if it's a very small job and it's going to cost £100, then maybe if you need it for speed, first person that can come to it. But when you're talking about a new roof, do your research, get them free quotes in, and ask the contractor questions.
Yeah.
Ask them questions. Ask to see work they've done locally, whatever it is. There's a few things that you can do to avoid the cowboys, because I wouldn't have any. If someone said to me, "Oh, can I have a look at a recent job?" I've got probably 10 clients I can ring up and say, "Oh, someone just wants to look at that job. Is that all right?" Yeah, no problem at all, Paul. That, I think that's the thing, especially because a new roof on average and solar 5, 6, 7 grand, so it's no small amount of money. And unfortunately, people do get ripped off. It is very hard because some people can give a good talk. So you're not going to know. But if you can get to meet some of their local clients or just ask them questions about how their roof install went, that's all you can really do. Check their insurance is a big thing as well, because if something on your property gets damaged and they're not insured, then who's going to pay for that?
This is it, isn't it? And people tend to skimp on the insurance, don't they? Like,
they do,
you know, which is a bad sign. No, excellent stuff. Something, you know, I really love about you, from knowing you for a little while now, is you're always aiming to grow and develop as a person, as a businessman. Where does that desire come from? Where do you think it stems from?
Because I was poor and I don't want to be poor anymore.
Love it.
Pretty much. It's not just about the money for me. I shared something on Facebook the other day which was so true. You start a business because you want more time. It was when I had the kids, you want more time with the family, and then Christmas goes out the window, Easter don't even exist. It's like you don't start a business. You've got to work 24 hours flat out.
That's right, yeah.
I still am working flat out, but we're getting more to the stage. I've got my weekends back. And as we've grown, we grew to a 1.5 million turnover company, but the profits went down. So now I'm in this new phase of the business, right, let's keep that same customer service but make us more profitable. So while, yes, we turned over more money, we didn't make as much money as the year before. So now at the stage I'm at is, right, let's be a profitable, efficient company, and that's sort of my next stage in business before we look at any more growth within the business. Because we've got, like I say, plenty of good clients, plenty of good leads coming through. I do think we're up for a bit of a funny period, maybe Q1 next year. But I think my focus now is to get a profitable company that can look after itself. Because for me, yes, I do want to have the nicer things in life. I like my champagne. I like nice cars.
Champagne lifestyle.
Champagne lifestyle with beer money. Not even that, water money at the minute.
Bread money.
For me, that's what it's about. I enjoy the nice things in life. I want more freedom. I want to be retired at 50. Whether that's achievable, I think I'll get bored.
A lot of entrepreneurs say that, don't they? And I think the same. You know, it's kind of, well, what would I do? You know, well, great. You know, you've done it. What's next?
What's next?
What's next? And it's always thinking, what is next? No, that's great. I mean, what's the biggest challenge you've had in business to date?
Biggest challenge, I'd probably say me. Changing how I work, because I'm very fast. I'm quite an unorganised person. Not so much in the business, but I had to that forced me to get organised. But it's my mindset changing all the time. I'm a very lazy person.
Yeah.
I think it was Elon Musk who said, find a lazy person to do a hard person's job because he'll always find an easy way to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of phase I'm in, always been in. It's like I'm lazy. I want to automate stuff as much as possible, make it easy for the client with me doing as little work as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so I'd say my biggest challenge is probably make cash flow in construction as well as a nightmare. I think we've had conversations off camera about it.
Yeah.
We're working on 30, 60-day payment terms, then payments late.
Wow. Oh.
And it's nightmare. It is an absolute nightmare in construction. It's one of my biggest gripes in construction.
So that must be particularly tough as well if you've got like a 1.5 mil turnover business. You're thinking, right, I've got 60, 90 days potentially to kind of get this cash through. I mean, what's that like when you've got lads to pay in?
It's difficult. It's not easy. We pay all our lads weekly as well. The biggest problem for us used to tend to come at Christmas. We always used to have to get a loan to cover for the part. Not in the last 2 or 3 years, but before that. Yeah. Because accounts companies are waiting, going, we'll pay you after Christmas. So Christmas was the worst time. Christmas was the worst time for us. We always had to get sort of a little loan to cover it. And we're in a lot better cash flow position now. We manage our money a bit better. Yeah. But it's horrible. Yeah. It's horrible. Supply bills can get paid late. Suppliers are brilliant in construction though. We obviously get credit terms with them as well, and if anyone's going to be slightly late, as long as you update them, if you talk to people, they're okay.
This is it. Communication is not just important in business, but in life, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Just my wife would say that to me. Oh no, brilliant. I mean, how can people listening to this podcast now? How can they get in contact with you? How can they learn more about you? Is there anywhere that you typically are on the socials or anything?
Yeah, they can find us on our website, which is www.kingsleyroofers.co.uk. They can see a load of case studies on there, previous work. Like I say, we do industrial, commercial, residential roofing. You can see all sorts about us on there. So, yeah.
Pleasure. Well, thank you for your time today, Paul. It's been a real pleasure to have you on, pick your brains and find out what makes you tick. So, thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Adam. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the Alpha Chats podcast series. We really appreciate you watching. If you're enjoying, please subscribe. We're trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year, which means that the more subscribers we get, the bigger reach we have, the bigger, the better guests that we can get on. Thanks, guys.